Good evening and welcome, and thank you for your presence here this evening. Thank you for your patience. I'm Raphael James from Live 5 News. I am the moderator for this North Charleston mayoral candidate debate. It is sponsored by the Charleston chapter of the Links Incorporated, Charleston chapter of the National Panhellenic Council, the Greater St. Luke AME Church, NAACP Charleston branch, and the League of Women Voters of the Charleston area. Again, check your phone real quick. Make sure it's on silent or vibrate. I'll do the same, because that would be embarrassing if I told you to turn yours off and mine went off. Now, this forum, a candidate forum, is not a debate. A candidate forum is not a debate. It's an opportunity for the candidates to share their platforms throughout the community and for voters to educate themselves to what these candidates stand for. To keep the flow of our forum, we do have an official timekeeper. Jerry, would you wave your hand? Jerry is our official timekeeper. Give it up for Jerry, everybody. So for each of the candidates, Jerry will hold up a sign reading 30 seconds. You see that? You got to hold it up a little higher. Get your calisthenics in. Hold up, there you go. 30 seconds. Can everybody see the 30-second sign? All right, very good. When those 30 seconds are up, they will hold up a stop sign. Can everybody see that? All right. Chief, you know what a stop sign is. All right, all right. All the organizations sponsoring this candidate forum are nonpartisan organizations and have not endorsed any candidates. Again, this is a nonpartisan event. On November 7th, 2023, voters will choose a mayor to lead North Charleston in conjunction with a 10-member city council. We are now going to introduce to you the candidates here today. They are in alphabetical order, starting on my right, Reggie Burgess. Russ Coletti is not here. He was invited. Stephanie Ganaway Paisley is not here this evening. She has sent a statement. She was not able to be here. Councilwoman Rhonda Jerome, Curtis Merriweather, Todd Olds, Teddy Pryor, John Singletary, and Jesse Williams. The candidates will have 60 seconds for an opening statement, then 90 seconds to respond to questions. You may take some additional time for rebuttals. We'll get to that. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for a closing statement once the round is done. We ask the candidates use closing statements to summarize the issues they've already discussed and their vision for the position that you seek. Now, it is advised that you take notes so that we're not interrupting each other, but if somebody says something you disagree with, or if someone says something you want clarity on, take notes, write that down, and then when you have that opportunity, you may bring it up. Candidates will respond to questions in rotating order by seat location. We may start here with you, Chief, and the next question will start with someone else, and we'll rotate in that manner. These questions were collected from the memberships of the sponsoring organizations and members of our community. It's so good to see so many of you. Some of the faces I recognize, others I don't, but it's so good to see everybody involved in this operation, in this public service. There are still seats available for those of you who are standing. Feel free to stand if you like, but there are seats available, and please feel free to get a little closer. I won't ask any questions that are directed to any individual candidate directly. All right? So with that, we would like to start opening statements, and we will start with Chief Burgess, sir, and we'll go down the line. If you like, you have to turn your mic on.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. I am Reggie Burgess. For 34 years, I've served and protected the city of North Charleston. I have a unique perspective of working on the front line with the citizens Charleston for many, many years. Also being intimately involved in daily decision-making and budgetary processes. I truly believe that I actually have institutional knowledge to run the city. I envision a beautiful, amazing city, North Charleston, not being defined as a city crime, but as a city that every community likes, love, and looks and feel good about, that they want to live in it and call it home. So please, vote for me on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And also, since you said that and we didn't know before, it's probably going to be more advantageous if you just lean into the microphone instead of standing so that the stream can get your audio as well. All right. Mr. Rowe.
So it's great to be back home where I have served each of you for the last 20 years as City Council District 2 representative, and all of you as a whole. I have been Mayor Pro Tem 4 times in the last 20 years, which allows me to step into the shoes of the mayor when he is unavailable. I'm the only council member in the state of South Carolina to achieve Diamond Cum Laude status in leadership training. My platform is faith, education, family, and community. And my strategy is the star that you see on my sign, which is safety, training, affordable housing, and relationships. North Charleston is my home. I was born and raised here. I raised my family here. Please vote for qualifications, not for popularity or for name recognition. I am the woman for the job, and I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Mr. Curtis.
My name is Dr. Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. Got here in 2004. I was a computer engineer for the Navy, specifically Space and Naval Warfare System Center. Sounds choppy.
Let me try to address that. We'll go on to Mr. Olds, and I'll see if I can correct that.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. I'm Todd Olds. I am a 30-year private owner businessman retired. I'm an 8-year former councilman of this city council and a 3-year planning commissioner of this city. It's very important that this next leader be the right leader for our city, to be a person that's going to be including everyone from the south end to the north end, a person that has an extensive background and knowledge in business, that knows and has the ability to negotiate with contract negotiations. I'm a certified investor agent specialist with contract negotiations. I'm the only one in this city that has ever gotten a tax decrease for the taxpayers, and I'll assure you one thing that you are not accustomed to: the most transparent government in North Charleston that you've ever had, with a total open door to every citizen. I'm Todd Olds. Your vote's greatly appreciated November 7th. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you very much. And sorry about that, Dr. Merriweather. You may continue.
Thank you. Okay, much better. So my name is Dr. Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. I moved to North Charleston in 2004. I was a computer engineer for the Navy, specifically Space and Naval Warfare System Center. I have a bachelor's in computer engineering, an MBA from the Citadel, a master's of science in project management from the Citadel, and a PhD in management from Case Western Reserve University. The mayor's role is a management role. I've worked at the highest levels of government. I worked for the Assistant Secretary of the Navy's Office for Research, Development, Acquisition, Chief Engineering. I ran multi-billion-dollar programs for the federal government. I was the lead for the Ballistic Missile Defense System for the Missile Defense Agency in partnership with Space War. And I'm an entrepreneur. Founded a government contracting firm in 2020, multi-million-dollar firm. We have business all across the United States, and I'm going to bring my professional as well as my academic experience to this role to solve the most pressing problems facing North Charleston. Thank you.
Councilman Pryor.
Good evening. I am Teddy Pryor, a lifelong resident of the city of North Charleston, 35-year small business owner, 20 years on Charleston County Council, 8 years North Charleston Sewer District, 2 years on the Constituent School Board in District 4. I have the experience and the knowledge to run this city because we're the third largest city in the state, negotiating contract with Boeing, Mercedes, and others. and I will be ready on day one to lead this city. We are in a crucial time, and so we need a leader who is ready on day one. Now it's going to take 2 or 3 years to catch up to speed. I solicit your vote on November 7th. Teddy Pryor.
Mr. Singletary.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone coming out. My name is John Singletary, grown right here in North Charleston. I went to Garrett High School and left Garrett and went to the Citadel, graduated in 1983 with a degree in business administration, and then to Butler University for a master's in business administration and computer science. I've owned my own Chick-fil-A. I've worked for Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, Fortune 500 companies like Nucor, and I'm ready to add value to the city of North Charleston on day one. I'm asking you for your vote because I've got a 76-page brochure that you can read. I'll be giving you a card to scan the QR code. And I'm ready on day one to run this city and add value to make you a city that is a world-class city in North Charleston. Thank you.
And Mr. Williams.
Hi, my name is Jesse Williams. Can everybody hear me? I grew up in North Charleston. I went to Garrett High School, where I took trades there. Then I went to College of Charleston, Bachelor's in Business. Got my MBA from Charleston Southern University. And after that, I am currently a lieutenant in the South Carolina State Guard, which I was able to help get them paid. So now they're getting stipends for the weekend. I'm a full-time teacher, so I understand schools. Most of all, I've advocated for local schools like Garrett Academy of Technology, because I believe that if people have good jobs, gaining gainful employment, they can then be able to afford to live in North Charleston. And also, housing is important. I'm the only candidate who's actively fought against intrusive zoning on the southern end of North Charleston. I was on the Lampsey board for 5 years, New Country Alliance for Model Communities, and we were able to mitigate a lot of the expansion of the Port Authority back with 2015 when I was on the Lampsey board. Thank you so much, and I'd love to share more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Before we go further, could you please give a round of applause to these men and women who have dared, stepped into the arena to make North Charleston a better place to live. Our first question goes to you, Ms. Jerome. Pardon me. We do have an opening statement from Ms. Stephanie Paisley-Ganaway, who couldn't be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm just a League of Women Voters volunteer. Dr. Stephanie Ganaway Paisley came down with a sudden illness, and so she sent this statement to be read on her behalf. I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to extend my sincerest apologies for not being able to attend the forum as scheduled. I understand the significance of this mayoral race and the importance of discussing critical issues such as tackling high crime, public safety, addressing mental health, promoting affordable housing, reducing poverty, and fostering economic development. Unfortunately, I have fallen ill with a case of strep throat, and my doctor has advised me to take the necessary rest and treatment to recover as soon as possible. I'm truly disappointed that I will not be able to participate in the forum and engage with the community on these vital topics. I want to assure you that my commitment to addressing the concerns of our city remains unwavering. The issues I previously mentioned are at the forefront of my campaign, and I'm fully dedicated to working on strategies and policies that will improve the lives of our fellow citizens. I understand the importance of this forum in connecting with the voters and sharing my vision for our city's future. I deeply regret that I will not be there in person to do so. Let me assure you that I and my campaign are in pursuit of victory on November 7th, 2023. I look forward to gaining your support and working with you to advance our vision for the future of North Charleston. Once again, I apologize for any inconvenience my absence may cause, and I appreciate your understanding of this unexpected situation. Dr. Stephanie Ganaway Paisley, PhD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I was ready to get to the questions. Here we go. Ms. Jerome, first one is for you. Well, it's for all of you, but we start with you. Housing affordability, a major issue in North Charleston. What are your views on income-based housing versus affordable housing?
So right now, we have the highest eviction rate in the nation, and that's sad. But I kind of like going by income. You know, we broke ground in Hub Village last week for affordable townhomes, home ownership. Charleston County awarded this particular developer a grant, and they were able to do 5 units that will be affordable housing. It's based on their income. If we're going to address the housing crisis, income-based is going to be the way to go. And I think we can work with developers to make that happen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oles, would you like for me to repeat the question? What are your views on income-based housing versus affordable housing?
You know, our city is a growing city. We must implement some structure to develop more affordable housing. Not everyone has the opportunity to make high-level income or have a high-paying job. It's my plan as the mayor, if I'm elected your leader, to develop the first ever North Charleston Workforce Housing Trust Fund, whereby we will be able to sell homes cheaper because we can get them developed cheaper with agreements with developers. And I do think we need more affordable housing in this city for people who are on a low-income basis. And we have a lot of opportunity throughout this city, in the South End especially, to try to make this happen and occur. Everybody deserves to have housing.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Pryor. Make sure your microphone is on. I don't.
Let's define income base. When you look at income base is subsidized housing. And it's not ownership, it's just subsidized housing. I believe in affordable housing because Charleston County, we just passed our Housing Our Future plan, where we started a trust fund, we started gap funding to help people achieve what they need to have done. And so I am in favor of affordable housing and as well as mixed use. But affordable housing, you have to have the fortitude to make sure it happens. You have to get with these developers and incentivize these developers to whereas you give them so much incentive to have a lower price. We just did the one in the hub where Rhonda was talking about. We were able to $149,000 for a 2-bedroom townhome. That's remarkable in these days and time. And so I believe in affordable housing, but income base is based on your income, and then you're subsidized by the government for the others. But I do believe in both, but I believe in home ownership, not rental.
Mr. Singletary, your views on income-based housing versus affordable housing?
Whether it's affordable, attainable, or income-based, your income at some point plays a part. And so at the end of the day, the question is, can we supply housing for North Charleston residents? Home ownership is the bedrock of the middle class in America. I have a program that allows a North Charleston resident to pay 30% of their income to own their own home, a home that they can pass on from generation to generation. My 30% home ownership program looks at the 200-page study that was done by the Tri-County area. It's the Impediment to Fair Housing Study. And when we look at that, and when we look at the median household income, not only do we want to apply and allow them to have affordable housing, but we also want to increase their median household income. Affordable housing, again, is the bedrock for the middle class, and that's what I would supply for North Charleston residents who want to own their own home.
Mr. Williams.
So my take on income-based housing versus affordable housing is that income-based housing is such that when you apply for this housing, for example, at the North Charleston Housing Authority, or whether you live in the city of Charleston, the Charleston Housing Authority, they base it on your income. So that means that low-income individuals that can't afford the rent based on what it is in the market right now can qualify for income-based housing. On the other hand, affordable housing is ambiguous. I don't know what affordable housing means, because my question to that is affordable for who? And when we talk about affordable housing, some people also talk about workforce housing. So workforce for what workforce? $60,000 and up. Are we talking about those folks who are making $60,000 or more? Or are we talking about people who are making $60,000 or less? So affordable housing is too ambiguous of a term. We need to define what that means. Income-based housing is more specific because we know what that means and who we're talking about when it comes to income-based housing. That's less people making less income.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Burgess, your views on income-based housing versus affordable housing?
I agree that income-based housing and affordable housing is something that we need to tackle. It's not only a city problem, it's a regional problem. And I believe that we can take a look at other regional partners throughout, our city and our counties and see exactly what they're doing. But most importantly, look at the individual person that's living in that area. Affordable housing is something that deals with, a percentage of your income that you pay toward your rent. Income-based housing would probably be the same. But if we don't work with the General Assembly to actually raise these living wages, hourly wages, then the folks will remain in income and in affordable housing. We need to work on those things with other regional partners so we can help them to elevate themselves, therefore they can really live the American dream.
Mr. Merriweather.
I'm not in favor of income-based housing. I believe income-based housing is based on systematic factors, and I do not want to encourage people to forfeit opportunities based on their income to secure their housing. So in a lot of the social programs that we see today, we have folks who are trying to put bread on their tables and roofs over their heads. I'm mainly thinking of like a lot of our social programs where individuals have to make a decision between, do I keep my benefit or do I secure a better opportunity? So I'm in favor of affordable housing to make sure that we provide affordable housing for all. I'm probably one of the few people who actually have a plan up here about actually how to actually attack that by, number one, repositioning existing property, number two, actually attacking building programs from an affordable perspective, and then number three, leveraging our faith-based partners. We could talk about this later, but a faith-based partnership where faith-based partners can now reposition, redevelop properties in such a way where their properties provide communal benefit. For example, I have a relationship with Duke Divinity School, and at Duke Divinity School they have a placemaking lab. And with the placemaking lab, it looks at opportunities where you can take your churches and nonprofits can take their existing real estate and they can reposition that property for communal benefit. For example, in Virginia, North Carolina, and now in North Charleston with my mayorship, we're going to bring that opportunity to the table, and now churches are going to be able to do affordable housing based on social entrepreneurship model. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now on to the second round. For those who want seating, there is some available on this side. This question starts with Mr. Olds. How, in your opinion, is gentrification affecting the minority community in North Charleston?
Well, I think with the development that is going on in this city and with the industry and things, I think there has been an impact. I think zoning in some part has played a role in effect. I think we need to be more strategic in our city and follow our future land use comp plan. We spend a lot of money, a lot of time. We've got a great planning and zoning department, and it's often a plan that we attempt to follow, but sometimes it's not followed for certain exceptions. We need to possibly develop residential improvement districts to where these communities, where these existing homes are, would be protected and not encroached with all this industrial or economic development around them and driving them out. There are many opportunities and areas to have housing in North Charleston and to revitalize existing homes in our city to where people can stay where they are.
Councilman Pryor.
It's critical in the city of North Charleston. The folks are being surrounded from folks coming downtown, folks coming from the north area. There's no room to go other than go out or come in. Now, when you look at gentrification, we started a program Charleston County Council did under my leadership in Liberty Hill, what we call critical home repair, where we repair these homes to keep the seniors and those folks who want to stay there by putting on roofs, floors, and windows. That's one way we can do that. Secondly, we could do it through zoning to protect and serve these underserved community. A lot of times you have developers come in and they offer these folks way more than what they paid for it, and it looks good. But if they had some type of security where the city could work with them to make sure that they stay in their homes, I would be greatly in favor of that. We've done it on the county level, we can do it on the city level, but it takes a leader who is willing to do it. North Charleston have a lot of land that we can use. The exit 218 that was given to the city of North Charleston by the state, that's land that can be used for affordable housing, subsidized housing, whatever this city deserves, and the council and the mayor wants to do, it could be done, but it's going to take somebody with leadership, it's going to take somebody with the nerve to step out and say, this is what's best for our citizens in the city of North Charleston, because people shouldn't have to live in Somerville or Ridgeville to drive to work to come to North Charleston.
Mr. Singletary.
Yes, gentrification is a systematic strategic plan. There's at least 5 people that sit to the table when gentrification takes place. There's a book called How to Kill a City by Peter Markowitz, and it goes through and explains that there has to be a bank involved, a developer involved, employment source involved, there has to be a nonprofit and the city. No building takes place without the city's permit. I will simply stop gentrification until local residents have been included into the progress. This is something that the city can do, because when you look at gentrification, again, it is a systematic strategic plan where a group of people decide to take over a neighborhood. That is unfair, and as the mayor of the city, I simply will not tolerate it.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. As I mentioned before, gentrification is near, and housing is near and dear to my heart, because I witnessed firsthand down at Union Heights when Luxury Simplified, which is a development company, attempted to take over 200 homes in Union Heights. And what their goal was to buy the land and then build $300,000 houses down in Union Heights. And so we had to stand up against that. And I encouraged the residents when I was on the board of Lampsey to put together a plan, and everybody put the work in. And ultimately, Luxury Simplified's investors understood that it wasn't a good investment to invest in those homes and that plan down on that end. So it takes empowerment, it takes passion, it takes the will and the know-how to be able to fight against gentrification. And also the comprehensive plan has failed us up to this point, so that needs to be revisited. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Burgess.
Gentrification, the definition is when new homes are built in an older neighborhood. It actually increases the equity in the neighborhood. When the equity goes up, that means the tax goes up. So you have some communities that do not own the property around them. What I look at as being the mayor, if we have developers or any groups that come in and have new builds, there are best practices that are evidence-based throughout this nation and the state. As a matter of fact, it's a Bailey Bill. It's called Bailey Bill. It's in Fort Mill, Camden, Columbia, Greenville, and Beaufort. That is a bill that can actually lock your taxes in as it is right now for 20 years, as long as we work on aesthetics. Also, Louisville, Kentucky has a program, a trust fund, that helps as well. So if we're going to, those things are happening, if we have to make an adjustment, then as a mayor, I want to look at the best practices so I can make sure that the folks that's living in those neighborhoods remain in those neighborhoods, but any way we can make sure that they're comfortable.
Mr. Merriweather.
No, that's a great question. Gentrification, I think the real problem is the overdevelopment that potentially ensues, and that communities oftentimes lose that character. So I am in favor of a mixed-use development so people can live, work, and play in their communities. However, this needs to be very citizen-centered. It needs to be a collaborative process. It doesn't need to be where a bunch of people get to the table and make decisions about your neighborhood without your involvement. So making sure that the citizens are front and center in the decision-making process. Now, as a result of a lot of this development, property taxes do increase oftentimes. And it sometimes hurts the most vulnerable among us. So I think we need to be very proactive in a city planning approach to make sure we can beautify the city in a way that makes sense, but also provides community value and community benefit to create flourishing communities and cities. I believe that's what we all want. We have to just do it in a very thoughtful, methodical, and very careful and deliberate approach.
Ms. Jerome.
First off, our comprehensive plan is not set in stone. It's a guide. every council meeting, well, first council meeting of every month, planning and zoning comes to council. If there's a text amendment to the zoning, if there's a rezoning that doesn't fall within the guidelines of this, it's brought to our attention, we discuss it in committee, then it comes back to council, but it's only a guide. It is not set in stone. We need to increase our density. Our infrastructure is so far behind that it's going to take that increase in order to help us get caught up. The main thing with gentrification, I believe, is our air property. Nobody has a clear title to their home when it's tied up with heirs property. And we need a department that researches these titles, clears these titles, and it allows the people to stay in their home. It allows them to borrow money on their home to fix it up so they don't have to leave where they were born and raised. And I think that's very important. And any development needs to include the input from the communities that it involves. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. This next question, we start with Councilman Pryor. If you are elected mayor, what specific plans do you have for assisting women and minority-owned businesses in your city?
My plan would be to build a strong MWDBE department where everybody benefits. When contract goes out, it should be put on Skibo so everybody would know minorities should have a certain percentage. At Charleston County, we went from less than 1/10 of 1% to 18% of minority women business participation. And so if you're real serious about it, you could put it in your procurement to where as every contract goes out, it has to have at least 18% MWDBE participation. The problem is you don't have a strong council or a strong mayor willing to do it, and the same people gets a contract over and over again. That's why it's discouraging for these people to come in and even fill out an application because they never get picked. So you need to have a strong procurement department and you need to have a strong MWDBE representation, and I am in favor of it. You can go to charlestoncounty.org. You can see what we have done to help with MWDBE participation.
Singletary.
When it comes to women and minority businesses, many of us who have applied for contracts understand that a Caucasian female gets to be a white as well as a minority, and as a result, the majority of the contracts will go to them. For North Charleston, we give over $100 million in contracts away every single year. African Americans get less than 2% of $100 million in contracts. I believe in parity, which means that I will put in that African American community in the one term over $200 million in contracts, simply because that is the fair thing to do. When we look at contracts and procurement, if we use parity as the guideline to go by, then there is no reason for anyone to claim that they are not being treated fair. North Charleston has to eventually come to the point where it's willing to treat all of its citizens fair. That means that, again, the $100 million in contracts that we give out every single year, we can no longer give 62% of the population only 2% of those contracts. We must be fair with contracts in North Charleston.
Williams.
Yes, I do believe in having a strong women and minority business enterprise program. My background is business administration, so I think if we have thriving small businesses, North Charleston will thrive. And all the benefits shouldn't only go to the big corporations in North Charleston. We should make sure that our small businesses are taken care of. We should also have a small business incubator. That way the small business will get help to be able to grow their business, build a business plan, and then get to the point where they can then receive contracts also. Break up the contracts that comes from North Charleston, the city of North Charleston, so that minority businesses, women-owned businesses can get prime contracts, but also subcontracts as well, so they can get both contracts that comes out, and make it a little bit smaller. So I'd like to see everybody in North Charleston be able to get contracts and not just big development companies. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burgess.
Yes, sir. First of all, if it's an issue, we have to find what the problem is. What I've been doing since I've actually stated I was running for mayor, I've been meeting with small businesses and minority businesses because I want to know exactly how they feel. What are the problems that they see exist? And when you talk to people like that, you find out exactly the truth, and they will be able to tell you what you need to be looking for. One of the things that they stated is that when they have submitted the bids, they don't have a bandwidth, or they don't have certain things that the ordinance say you need. Well, what we actually did in 1989 when I came in, working as a city, we can't do in 2023. We need to actually look at those zonings and looking at the ordinance and looking at how the process is, and then maybe we can tweak it and change it so it could actually help everybody that's trying to put a bid in. That would help women, and that would help minorities. So the first thing you should do is talk to the folks who actually deal with those issues. Once you speak with them, you can actually help them better.
Dr. Merriweather.
Yes, sir, this is a great question. I was named the game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And when I got that award, I was invited to the White House to talk about how do we actually level the playing field so that minorities could get more access to contracting opportunities. So I would do something very simple, which is we would mirror the federal program at the city level, where we would provide contracting goals for minorities, women, veterans, as well as hub zone employees. I also partner with the Charleston Regional Development Alliance to attract a financial partner, particularly like an investment bank subsidiary, because one of the things we know, there's about 5 reasons why businesses don't thrive, especially small businesses. 2 of the primary reasons are social networks and access to capital. So as we create a real, true financing facility hub in North Charleston, we're going to be able to create incubators, accelerators, access to venture capital, and private equity. Business owners make their wealth on the exit. You can have a great lifestyle in the day-to-day, but business owners make their money when they exit the business. So just doing the training and equipment to make sure that entrepreneurs can thrive, and encouraging strategic partnership between large and small businesses. I grew a multi-million-dollar businesses through subcontracting opportunity to large businesses here. So just making sure we create an ecosystem for both large and small business flourishment.
All right, Mrs. Jerome.
I was one of a few council members that voted to allow our council to give women and minority businesses more contracts in the city. It was defeated. Everybody had their reasons, but being a woman, it's very difficult to understand why a lot of people don't consider a woman a minority. And we are just as much a minority as anyone else. With that being said, the one thing that came out of this discussion was the contractors with their subcontractors, they don't really have the ability to get the bonding that is required of the city to do these contracts. So they fall underneath the contractors. So you have your subcontractors, you have your contractors, but you all have to be licensed and bonded, and some contractors do not want to give the subs that opportunity. It's something that needs to be changed, it needs to be addressed, and I think women and minorities need to be included in all of our contracts.
Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you. I want to just, put this in a nutshell. Women, minorities, gays, whoever you are in North Charleston, you deserve to do business in North Charleston. The procedural process is clear, black and white. If you meet the eligibility, you're qualified, you have insurance, you're bonded, and again, you meet the requirements, there's no reason you should not be eligible for a bid or getting work in North Charleston. I believe everyone should submit it. I believe there's a breakdown in the process that some people may not understand it. We have great staff in North Charleston. I believe we assist people in North Charleston through our administration. The South Carolina Governor's Council and Economic Development Council, they have programs and assistance that they can provide to minority businesses. And I think it's a matter of sharing the right information, because some people do not understand how to go about the process. And I truly believe that's a breakdown. If if we give the proper information to the citizens, to the minority business owners, regardless of who they are, I believe we can see an increase in business done in our city with minorities. I support it. It's just a procedural process we must follow for being fair for everyone.
All right, and I believe Councilman Pryor has a rebuttal. You have 60
Yes,
seconds.
sir. Let's just cut through the red tape. If you seriously wants to do it, you can do it. It starts from the top on down. Council, along with the mayor, can change the procurement process to where these things can be incorporated into the bid process. So to say, well, everybody can apply, but if they don't meet the qualifications, when I meet with these minority contractors, a lot of them meet the qualifications, but they don't get the work. And that's what's so discouraging to them, and that's why they don't come back, because they spend time and money to fill out all this information, they're licensed and they're bonded, and they get turned away because of the good old boy system. Okay, so let's be honest and let's be fair. If the mayor and council wants to change it, you can change it through procurement, and when somebody applies, you tell these big general contractors, this has to be done, if not, you will not be awarded a contract. And you have someone in the department that monitor these things on a weekly basis to make sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do. That's how you solve the problem.
Councilwoman Jerome.
That's a direct at me, Raphael.
Well,
we must be fair to the people in
Mr. Olds,
businesses.
Mr. Olds.
Everybody doesn't have insurance, Teddy.
Mr. Olds. Thank you. Ms. Jerome.
In response to Mr. Pryor, council has one vote. It takes 6 votes or a majority to get anything passed, whether you're the mayor or your city council. You have to have the majority to get anything passed. You also have a legal team that advises you on what you can and cannot do, and you have to take that under advisement. So it's not all cut and dry in city government. You have guidelines that you have to abide by, and you have to have a majority vote to get it passed. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Olds, did you want to respond?
I do. And I think for the ones that have sat in this county and this city for over 20 years, and they've done nothing to ensure that it happens, it's just now beginning at the county level, I think that's sad. It's time that we take all the politics out of North Charleston, bring the real policies to our city, and put a leader in place that's not beholden to anybody to protect the citizens of North Charleston in its entirety.
All right, we can't go back right now, Councilman Pryor. Mr. Singletary is next, but I do want to just remind everybody that I'm here so that we can keep it going in an orderly fashion. Don't talk out of turn. If you want to say something, I'm like Deion Sanders. I ain't hard to find. Just give me a signal, all right?
Thank you, Raphael.
All right, Mr. Singletary.
Yes, when we look at North Charleston is comprised of 50% African Americans, 38% Caucasians, and 12% Hispanic and other. And as I stated earlier, out of $100 million in contracts, Hispanics and African Americans are receiving less than 2% of the contracts. That is grossly unfair. If you can prove that it has been based on discrimination, the law allows you to then use parity in terms of assignment of contracts. We have many contracts in North Charleston today that are sole sourced. So people do not even get to apply through the regular procurement process for those contracts. It takes someone in leadership who is willing to have the courage to stand up and say that this is what's going to be done, the same way Maynard Jackson did in Atlanta when he shut down the building of the airport until there was inclusion of all communities in that project. That's what I would do in North Charleston.
All right, now, at the point of order here, we have to go back to the rules. The rules say 1 rebuttal per candidate or per question. So now, if we have some time moving forward, put a pin in it, write it down, and when we have an opportunity, we can go back to it. Anybody else have a rebuttal to this question before we move on? Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. I think the idea of contracts is very important because that's economics. And for people to be able to move forward economically, it's important that we recognize what the truth in contracts are. And the reason why we had those minority business enterprise programs, because I've done a little bit of work with minority business enterprises as well, is because there historically has been discrimination on contracts. So it's important to recognize that. I've heard a lot of excuses saying people don't have insurance, people don't have bonding. But we all know the reason why. We all know there's unfairness going on. So we need to address that and move forward in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess.
Yeah, as I stated earlier, when you speak to the folks, the minorities and the women, when you speak to them and talk to them about the issues that they have, those issues come directly to you as the mayor. When I was the chief of police, we had laws in the books that we found out were unlawful. So it was upon me to actually meet with the legal attorneys and work those laws off the books. So what I'm saying to you, when you speak with individuals who have that issue, that's the first thing you do. Once you speak with them, then you actually formulate a plan to be able to eradicate it or even improve upon it and make it work for everyone. But you have to speak to the individuals who are going through this process so you know how to help them.
All right. And we are moving on. If at any time in a round of questioning you need me to repeat the question, please ask, and I'll be more than happy to do so. This next question is posed first to Mr. Singletary. Crime is a major concern for the public. What do you think are the root causes, and what solutions would you bring as mayor?
Crime is a function of chronic joblessness over an extended period of time. So in order to address crime, we have to address the median household income. In addressing the median household income, we impact crime. As a solution, I would not only infuse jobs and contracts into the community, but also I would use a process of community policing that includes handling social problems within the community. That has not been done in North Charleston. Our crime rate is at a historic high. It moved from 964 in 18 to 1,114 to 1,164 to 1,289. It is now at an all-time high. And when we try to address the crime in North Charleston, a racial bias audit was done. That racial bias audit says that there is systematic over-policing in some neighborhoods. And when we take a look at the solutions that have been provided, the root cause of crime, which is income, has never been addressed in North Charleston. We have to address that median household income in order to impact crime.
Mr. Williams.
Crime is a result of a couple different reasons. One of them is the lack of jobs, and the other reasoning is the lack of good education. So when people don't have good education in communities, it's hard for them to get good jobs, and also then they may turn to alternative methods like possibly selling drugs in North Charleston. Everybody knows that goes on in a lot of the parts of North Charleston because they're trying to make money. There's no opportunities for them. So what are the solutions? Make sure we improve education in North Charleston and make sure that we improve the job availability for people in North Charleston. For instance, we had a fight at Stall High School. That shouldn't have happened. We need to look at why violence is happening in our schools, and part of the reason was because a lot of the neighborhoods are combining schools rather than them being able to stay at their high schools separate. The neighborhoods have been coming against each other and fighting, and hence we have these issues at our schools even, and it's coming out from our schools into the neighborhoods once again. So we need to make sure that our education system, that we partner with our education, our CCSD school system, and make sure we partner with our local municipalities, and then make sure that we are servicing our community through community policing as well. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Crime is a problem and it should never be accepted at all. What we are doing in North Charleston Police Department, we're actually dealing with the root causes of crime. I'll just say that the four main factors, is economics, employment, education, and that one thing that really caused all the problems is the family and friend structure. If you are following your family or friends that's doing the wrong thing, eventually you will. Shakur Cherokee, almost 1,300 homes from Reynolds Avenue to actually Burton Lane. The AMI, average median income there, is $27,000. We are telling our young kids to go to North Charleston High to aspire to do the things that we want them to do, but they have to go home to $27,000 a year, home. What do we expect them to do when they have to live in that environment? So there's a whole lot of things to do. Law enforcement itself is working in the community. For the 5 years I've been the chief of police, we have changed the perception of law enforcement in the city because we are totally engaged with our communities. We are actually mentoring, we're tutoring, we're talking about social, emotional problems. People who are traumatized other people. So those are root causes, but what are you doing? Our police department, we are engaged. And as the mayor, I will get all of the department heads to be engaged throughout the city so we can be holistically involved with improving our conditions in our communities.
Dr. Merriweather.
Yes, sir. As Chief so eloquently said, there are three major problems. I'm going to put them in three categories: economics, social networks, and education. Now, to combat the crime problem, we have to address the idleness. A lot of the crime that's being committed are not adults. A lot of these are teenage and young adults. So we have to put community programs in place, like reading programs, mentorship programs, girls club, boys club, black girls that code, and the list goes on. But from a citizen police relationships have to be rebuilt. And the way we do that is through community advisory boards, policing where you work programs, where you police areas that you are aware of and you know the constituents in those communities, because you're going to probably be more willing to de-escalate situations than use excessive force. Neighborhood watch programs, and then we need to be involved in the human trafficking task force. We know that human trafficking is a huge problem in this region, and so we got to make sure we're more proactive in that as well, because human trafficking looks different these days than it has in times past. So I think it's going to take a holistic approach, and I believe my platform speaks to a lot of those systemic or root cause issues that if we address that, crime will come down naturally over time.
Councilwoman Jerome.
I believe everybody has kind of said what the three root problems are, but we also have a lot of community centers in the city of North Charleston that are closed. They're not staffed, so therefore we don't have after-school programs. You have your kaleidoscope and programs like that in the schools, but some parents can't afford to pay what is required of them with these after-school programs. I believe we should hire a police chief that can lead his department and allow his police officers, his or her police officers, to be police officers. It's okay for community policing, and Chief Burgess and I have walked the street many times after crimes together, but we've got to, until we're fully staffed, because everybody knows we're 50 to 60 officers below where we need to be. Until we're fully staffed, I believe every certified officer needs to be on the street helping patrol our city. Once we get fully staffed, then I think we need to reestablish our specialized teams, our PAC team, our speed team, our bike team, and allow them to go straight into the communities where the crime is occurring and address the issues as they come about. But we've got to keep our children busy. As Mr. Merriweather said, most of our crime is young adults or kids, and we've got to keep idle hands busy. Thank you.
Mr. Olds.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. What's been done has not worked. Our city, and I'm going to give you statistical facts and data, and you can check it out on anywhere you want. It's statistical facts and data for over 10 years. In 2008, 9, and 10, this city and this country faced an economic recession. There were more jobs lost, there was more home displacement, and there were more people in the streets. And our crime in North Charleston was the lowest it had ever been in this state. We averaged 6 murders a year in our city of North Charleston. From 2012 to present, our crime has gone up drastically. I want to establish this tonight. Our chief has done a job the best of his ability and with the resources that he has had. However, they let over 50 men and women leave this police department in North Charleston to go to other agencies to work for higher wages. They mandated the COVID vaccine on them, fired the ones that refused to take it. We're short with resources. We must restore our police department with higher wages for recruitment and for retention. And we've got to get back to policing in the city of North Charleston to stop the criminal element. If we can have 6 crimes in 2010, 11, and 12 average, With the worst economics, we've got the best economics now in North Charleston. We shouldn't have an average of 27 murders a year. It's all about policing and leadership and enough resources to do the job. And as your mayor, I will ensure you we will get back to making our city safe again.
Councilman Pryor.
I think the question you said, how would you address the root cause? We have...
What do you think are the root causes, and what solutions would you bring as mayor?
Everybody has spoken on the root causes. Let me go to solutions. After-school programs. You know, we get these kids, and most of them go home from school. Nobody there to take care of them. They're in the streets. That's one of the problems. But you have to be innovative. Back in 2010, we started what you call a second chance program to give folks a chance who were, you know, nonviolent, to go out and work when they were incarcerated and then go back in the afternoon. Secondly, let's look at technical skills and trades. When the kids go to school, let's teach them trades, carpentry, brick mason, plumbing, all those would help. But lastly, I would say our nonprofits and our churches. Our churches, for 2.5 to 3 hours a week, have the attention and the audience of our folks and young kids. And when they leave, they don't come back in the community until that next Sunday. Wouldn't it be nice if they open up these churches during the week for after-school programs and have on Friday nights and Saturday nights, you could have games, basketball, to keep these kids in, and they won't be able to leave until their parents come and pick them up. So it's a community as a whole that have to solve this problem. We can't put it all on the police. We can't put it all on the city. It has to be partners working together to solve that. So our faith base and our churches have to get involved.
Thank you, sir. This is the rebuttal round. I saw Mr. Williams' hand, followed by Chief Burgess. Mr. Williams.
I think as far as crime, it's important to understand that we've got city councilmen here that's still currently a city council person, and they weren't talking anything about opening the community centers until they ran for mayor. In 2021 and 2020, we had the pandemic, but now we got 2022 and 2023, and these centers are still closed and not being used. So we need to be aware of that and move forward and look at real solutions. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Okay, crime stats. If y'all want to look at the crime stats for your city, stop letting people tell you your city is the worst city in the state. Look up the FBI, National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS. It will tell you we're number 18, and we have 12% reduction of overall crime then. When the next one comes out in a couple of weeks, we're going to be further than that. Stop letting people tell you that. Also, the racial bias audit, I was the one who went to the mayor's summit. Councilman Jerome was here asking for a racial bias audit because I want to make sure our department is a better servant to the community. Then you talk about the 2022, we were the highest paid in the state. The governor became, the DPS became the highest paid after we did that. And then you talk about the mandate. You got to get your mandate to serve people. You've got to. If not, you're going to make your family sick. And then another thing, too, the nonprofits, when they got involved with our work in the city of North Charleston, January and April of 2022, we had 13 homicides. When the nonprofits got involved, the January of 2023 to April of 23, 7 homicides. You do things like that, and you can turn things around. Crime go down, you
Time
save
is up,
lives.
Chief Burgess. All right, Mr. Singletary wanted to offer a rebuttal. Before we do, Mr. Olds, your mic has, it sounds a little funny to me. If you would like to move, you can, or if you want to try something else, it's just totally up to you. I just wanted to...
It may be because I was too close.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be
Too
fair, make
emphatic.
sure everybody can hear what you have to say. All right.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Singletary.
Everybody here? Can you hear?
The question dealt with the reason for the crime rate, and I said that it partly was because of economics in terms of the median household income. And we look at North Charleston's police force, in excess of 400 people, but yet we have less than 90 jobs going to African Americans. They're 50% of the population, with less than 25% of the jobs and less than 15% of the pay. In those high crime areas, the unemployment rate is 3 times what the other areas are in North Charleston. So if we just look at that isolated department, it is consistent with what I'm saying. That 50% is getting underserved, as well as they are underrepresented when it comes to jobs and even contracts at the city. They do not get 50% of the $44 million budget.
Your time is up. One rebuttal per round, Chief. Put a pin in it. Ms. Jerome.
In response to Mr. Williams, I didn't start talking about after-school programs and community centers being closed when I started running for mayor. I've been an advocate for community centers since I've been on city council. I was the reason Midland Park was able to purchase, we were able to purchase a community center for Midland Park. We redid Pepper Hill Ballpark with a community center there. We purchased land for community centers, and I've pushed for after-school programs. You have to have the staff in order to have these community centers open. It has been addressed, and we are working on it. And not just because it's an election year, because it's the right thing to do.
All right. We're going to turn the temperature down just a little bit. I'm going to skip around in the question sheet.
I didn't get a rebuttal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But
Mr.
I would
Pryor.
say, too, we must address gang violence as well, too. But summer programs, having our youth work during the summer. Charleston County Council was the first to start that. We employ 100 kids every summer. The city of Charleston and the city of North Charleston used to do it. They partnered up with us about 8 years ago, and then they stopped. That's the way you get these folks and these young people involved. You teach them a trade while they're there, you teach them how to work, and then you get them involved. And so if we are real serious, those are the kind of programs that we must bring in and grab these young kids while they're in middle school and high school. Of course, you have to be 15 years and above. But it puts money in their pocket, it teaches them how to work, and it gives them a good perspective on what needs to be done in life.
Any other rebuttals? Did you already have one? All right, go ahead, Mr. Olson.
I want to give clarification as to the numbers and statistics, and I will say that our former police chief, as I said earlier, did the best he could do with the resources he had. And I'm going to touch on something that's near and dear to his heart, football. He knows without a full team of football players, 11 players, you can't win the game. And without a full staff of police officers in your department, you can't attack the issues of crime. Police presence is a deterrence, and we must get it. And I want to clarify, because he and I have talked about this before. We have violent crime in this city. There are different numbers for different type violent crimes. And I hate to say it, because I want this city to get rid of the stigma and this image in the word murder. We are, in fact, #1 in the state per capita for murder. And Reggie and I have had this conversation, and he does acknowledge that. But rape, robbery, and assaults, we are not #1. We have reduced violent crime in those areas.
All righty then. Thank you. This round, we're all going to be able to smile. All right? Where are your favorite places to spend time in our fair city? Yeah, you like that, right? Mr. Williams.
Well, I like to spend time over there.
Your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Can you?
Testing. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually like to go to Tanger Outlets, and I go over there to a lot of the restaurants at Tanger Outlet, including I like Panera Bread over there. I like La Hacienda and a lot of those different spots like Chili's and stuff like that. So thank you.
All right. Chief Burgess.
Well, I was born and raised in North Charleston. I love everything, from Union Heights all the way up to the Goose Creek border to Watson Hills. But the thing that I really love the most is going home or be home with my wife. That's the thing I love the most. I've been working hard for 34 years. I went to college. I've done a lot of things that people thought I would never do, coming from the neighborhoods that I came from. But I represent my neighborhoods. as best as I can. But when you ask me what I like to do, man, I like to be with my wife, man. Just sit back and talk, and just that's it. That's it.
Brownie points. Tracy, you here? Man. Dr. Merriweather.
I'm a big guy, so I always find myself at a great restaurant. You don't get this size by not eating. But like Chief Burgess, I like being at home. I'm a homebody. Like being with my wife, my kids. That's where I get the most joy. We come out here, we do whatever it is that we do, and the world beats us up. But I find solace at home. But I do enjoy the food scene. And I want to see more attractions come. So as mayor, one of the things I want to do is I want to bring more dining facilities and more entertainment. I don't want to always, when we do want to kind of go out and have a great time, I don't want to always have to go to another city like Atlanta or Charlotte. I like to see some of those amenities right here in my own backyard. So when I do want to get away from home and me and the wife step out, I want to mix it up a little bit.
All right, Mr. Rowe.
I enjoy Riverfront Park. We worked hard to get that park established. I love the swings, sitting there, looking out at the water, watching all my worries go out to the Cooper River. I, too, like to eat, Mr. Merriweather, so, we have good restaurants in North Charleston. But most of all, I love serving the citizens of North Charleston. That's what I've done for 20 years. I like getting out there, helping with the food bank, just going out talking to people. It's what I do. Thank you.
Mr. Olds?
Well, I'm an avid fisherman, so obviously we've got approximately 2.5 miles on the Ashley River, or Cooper River. I enjoy the waterfront. Riverfront Park is a beautiful place. But the thing about North Charleston is you can about go anywhere and do something enjoyable. We've got wonderful golf. We've got wonderful entertainment at the Coliseum, Performing Arts Center. We've got a great amenity at the Riverfront Park, the historic area of the Naval Shipyard, and we need to work on that being more flourished. And as your leader, I want to do that. I want to make that the true downtown of North Charleston with all sorts of additional amenities with restaurants, retail, business, small business opportunities, possibly a boat landing for people to have access to, or boat slips. These are things that we take for granted a lot of times. We don't have to go downtown Charleston to the historic district to see nice stuff. It's all right here in our own city, and I enjoy all of it.
Councilman Pryor.
Well, Reggie kind of stole my answer, but I will tell you, on Saturdays, me and my wife, well, she likes to go shopping. That's her thing. Married her for 45 years, shopping and going to the stores on Saturday. But unlike them, like Reggie, I like being home with my grandkids and my family and just watching TV. But we go out to eat, we go to restaurants. But most of all, getting up on Sunday morning and going to church. You'll find me every Sunday in church. If there's not an emergency, I'm not sick. The same way I get up to go to work every day, I go to church. And I think you can attest to that, Brother Raphael, because we attend the same worship place. But, you get your spiritual refilling. Your tank's on empty. You go, you get it filled. It gives you the chance to go back the next week and continue to go on. So I find that my church on Sunday, but most of all, spending time with my wife and spending money and shopping on the weekend.
Evening of Prayer,
Yeah.
Spruill Avenue.
Yeah.
Free plug.
Everybody welcome.
All right, Mr. Singletary.
I enjoy going out to restaurants with my wife and my family, finding new restaurants, and just recently found one called Crepes that's right across the street from here. Excellent restaurant. And while out, we get to talk to the public to find out the issues that they want to have improved in North Charleston, and then we talk about solutions. So that's the thing that I like most enjoyable to me in North Charleston.
All right, any rebuttals? Yes, I have one. Since everybody tried to politicize the answer, I love everything. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my grandkids. This is the amended question, 60 seconds to respond. There is somebody who always talks about their city and how their city is better than yours. They're coming to visit North Charleston for the first time. Where do you take them? Mr. Williams, 60 seconds.
I'll take him to Tanger Outlet and eat at Chili's.
There you go, Jesse.
Thank you. That's my answer. Stick it to it. And that's not political either. That's eating.
Chief.
Well, I'll take them, first of all, I'll pick them up first, if they need a ride. And I'll actually, when I pick them up, I'll tell them about the city of North Charleston. I'll tell them about how North Charleston began. And it began in 1871 on Liberty Hill. And once I ride them by that historical place, then I'll take them by Park Circle. Then I'll take them in the central area of the city. I'll take them in the northern area of the city. And then I'll bring them back to Bertha's to get some lima beans and rice. And then take them to the hotel room, But just take them and give them one place. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to give them a well-rounded thing. I'm sorry.
All right. Dr. Merriweather.
I'm probably going to take them to Top Golf. I went to Top Golf a few weeks ago, had a great time. Probably going to take them to a couple of gyms like Evo over in Park Circle, probably Dashi. And I love a good Olive Garden every now and then. So, we're probably going to get some shrimp scampi and we're going to call it a night.
All right. Mr. Rome.
I would take them to the Fire Museum. I put our fire museum above any fire museum I've seen over all the traveling I've done in 20 years. We worked hard to make that educational. We have the old trucks in there. We had a big event out there Saturday for Fire Prevention Week. The kids loved it. They had competitions. They got to see what it was like to spray the water like the firemen do and dress out. But our fire museum is number one in my book.
All right. Councilman Olds.
Well, where would I take them? I think I would first have to inquire what their interests are, because it wouldn't be about me. It's about them. But if I had the choice, I would say let's go to Riverfront Park, where it's a one-stop shop with history, beauty, and an opportunity to eat at Momo's.
I'm with Jesse on this one. I want to take him to Tanger too. And I'm gonna tell you why. As the chief officer of the city, I want them to spend that tax money so we can get that accommodations money and we can build a stronger tax base. So, when we have conventions here and you go to speak, one of the first things I tell them is just give your wife the credit card, let them go shopping while we have the convention. So that's what I would do.
All right. And Mr. Singletary.
I would take them to Crepes for breakfast. I would take them to Hannibal's, family seafood for lunch, and then we'd probably end up at my mother's house. Have a good conversation.
All right. Very good. Give it up for that. I'm a little hungry now, actually. All right. Back into the ring. I'm sorry. No, that is the one. And which North Charleston public service would you give the highest grade and why? And did we start with you last time? I think we started with you last time, Mr. Williams, did we not? Okay, well, Mr. Williams, that's what I had down here. I thought I was mistaken. It's on you.
Yes, sir. The best services that's out of North Charleston, I would say Parks and Recreation. And the reason why, because I've worked with Parks and Recreation for many, many years. We started doing a community outreach event in 2008 over there at Dorchester Terrace, that is. And we partnered with Parks and Recreation on many different parks. We've done events at Riverfront Park, where we did a Unity event in 2008. We've done so many different events in community centers. They run the community centers. And I just think that even just recently, we worked with Parks and Recreation to do the basketball over the summer, and they did a great job in partnering with us and providing amenities for the residents. Of course, you can always get better, but it is what it is, and that's Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burgess.
Of course, the police department. And the reason why I say the police department, because in the 5 years, we changed the perception. We actually created cop athletic programs, which was we get awards from NAACP, we got awards from the National Action Network and Racial Justice Network. Also, we did a racial bias audit that we actually are following right now, and we have the only program in the nation called Emergent that any person is hired as a police officer, before they get a gun, before they get any uniform, they have to watch the Walter Scott video, and Anthony and Rodney Scott comes in and speak with them, mentor them. There's no other program in the nation like that. So not only are we addressing the issues and working in our communities, we bring in the families that we took a life from to help us to manage our community policing. That's what I would do.
Dr. Merriweather.
For me, it's going to be our first responders, specifically our EMS. So me and my wife, we have an older daughter. She had some health scares earlier this year, and you know, they were very quick and rapid to respond, and they treated us with utmost care and respect, and it really helped. And you know, of course, they responded very quickly, and they were very courteous. So because of just some personal encounters with them, I would have to give them a grade of A.
And I trust things are well with your family. Good to hear. All right. Mr. Rowe.
See, you're putting me on a bad spot because I'm on city council, so I think all of the departments they deserve the highest rate.
Hey, you're a politician. You're supposed to be able to handle these kinds of
I'm just
questions.
Rhonda. I'm not a politician. I would say overall, I would have to say our fire department, because they have went above and beyond to teach the youth all about fire safety. Over the summer, they do programs teaching multicultural programs to teenagers so that they know how to address emergencies when they come up. One thing police and fire have to deal with is the language barrier. So by the fire department reaching out and doing this, it teaches the children to teach their parents how to address the emergencies as well. So I would say probably the fire department. Plus Joe's retired from the fire department, so yeah, I got to give it a plug.
All right, all right. Mr. Olds.
You know, it's hard not to be political in this position. You know, that's a tough one. I mean, I've heard two mentioned that it's a big toss-up. But I don't want to dismiss our public works, sanitation workers and public works. Ladies and gentlemen, you holler when your trash isn't picked up. You holler when the ditches are flooded. You holler when the street lights are out. You holler when the sidewalks aren't good. Our public works men and women, they need to be acknowledged and recognized for what they do out here in this weather as well. I'll go to say and commend all the others for who they've complimented. That's a true statement too. But let's not dismiss our public works department, sanitation men and women, streets and all. They do an excellent job.
Councilman Pryor.
You stole my answer, Todd. But Public Works has always been there and there, and Mr. Olds said it right. If your garbage don't get picked up and it sits there for a week or 2 days, people are calling. Just like trash on the weekend, when you put it out, your trash will be picked up on Monday. If it's not picked up, the phones are ringing. These folks work in 90-degree weather. They work in 0-degree weather. They always show up. The guys cutting the grass, cleaning the ditches. I mean, on and on with these guys. I had a young man showed up to my house this morning at 6:30. He retired from Public Works and needed help. And I kind of started my wife, so, you know, I went to the door and I was like, can I help you? And he had some problems. I was able to make a phone call and a text and get it taken care of. But the remarkable thing was he came back to my house around about 10 o'clock and said thank you, but I tried to be able to get it done. So Public Work has always been there and dear to my heart. I have an annual cookout for them every year, what the city does, and I cook for them every year at the Public Works Department because we really appreciate them.
Mr. Singletary.
I would say cultural arts because their interface with Tanger Outlet, and we've led the state for the last 40 years dealing with retail sales. And so even though they're small, a little over $1 million in terms of their budget, some of the things that they do throughout the city, which I see, and there's always room for improvement, but because of their impact in dealing with the retail sales in Tanger Outlet, I think they would probably be the best.
Mr. Williams.
Started with
Okay, very good. I'm sorry. Give it up to all the public service workers in the city of North Charleston. All right, so this one we start with Chief Burgess. If you are elected mayor, what would be the first two issues on your agenda?
First two issues. The first one would be to actually have an orderly and seamless transition with the department heads. those are the people who actually run the city. I would actually sit down with each individual department head and see exactly what are some of the things that they would like to do. Also, we would do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, so we can see exactly what they're doing based on the job description. But really the main goal is to actually take care of our fiscal stability. We've got to pay our bills. We have 3 funding revenue streams. That's property tax, building license, business license, and local option sales taxes. We got to make sure we pay our bills. Then secondly, we got to take care of our public services, like we talked about. Public works, cultural arts, finance, and then we have to take care of our public safety, which is code enforcement, fire, and police. Those are the first things because we have to maintain our city. Keep heading forward, doing the things that is already done, and then we work on other things afterwards.
Dr. Merriweather.
I like all that he just said. No, number one, I would address crime, not from a law enforcement perspective, but from a legislation perspective. Many of our prisons have become revolving doors, and that is a legislation issue. So I'll be working at the General Assembly on both sides of the aisle to make sure we get the true legislative reform so that violent offenders, when they actually commit a crime, they're not in a position where they can reoffend. So that when we do actually equip and put more law enforcement on the force, we don't demoralize our workforce by officers going out, apprehending criminals, putting them in jail, and they're back out on the street the next day. So first day of business, I would be working on the legislation issues that has caused this revolving door in our prison system. Second issue, as I talk and I walk through the streets and I'm talking to voters, I would immediately address some of the affordable housing concerns. Looking at number one, how do we reposition existing stock? We have a lot of unused real estate in North Charleston, so when we talk about affordable housing, repositioning that existing stock first. Second, look at true affordable housing metrics to make sure we actually can truly provide sustainable affordable housing. And then third, as I mentioned earlier, our faith-based partnership where we can partner with the churches where they can use existing real estate to develop affordable housing, as has already been done in Virginia, North Carolina, and then next here. So those are the 2 initiatives I would address most expeditiously.
Ms. Jerome.
First and foremost, I would do a forensic audit of each department so that we know where they stand in their financial situation. And second, I would meet with all of the employees, not just a few, but with all the employees to hear what they have to say. They're the ones that have been working in the city. They know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, who's the troublemaker. So I would like to hear what they would have to say. And I would also address a health clinic for the employees as well as daycare options. We have to keep our employees happy, so we need to look at ways in order to make this happen.
Not sure I like the way you looked at me when you said troublemaker, but we'll let that pass. Mr. Olds.
Thank you. We first must control our spending. Our city has an average of about $250 million in bond debt. What a lot of citizens don't realize, we do a lot of projects in the city, but we do it through bonding, and it's debt, costing us approximately $24 million a year. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to do everything to keep your taxes from being increased. We need to establish a capital improvement surplus fund, which we do not have for our city. What that means is when our streets deteriorate, our lights go out, our drainage issues arise, we don't have necessary funding except a little money's coming from gas tax and all that. And that's not enough to pave all the roadways and do the improvements. So we must establish some surplus monies, control our spending, so I can keep your taxes low. Inflation is too high now. We do not need any other increases, especially with property taxes. And believe me, if we do not control the spending, because the next leader of this city is going to inherit a lot of debt. And they must be fiscally responsible and conscious on this future spending to protect you as a taxpayer.
Councilman Pryor.
Thank you. That's why a forensic audit is needed. I agree with Rhonda. That would be one of my first priority. Affordable housing, working with the county to enhance, our housing future plan, as well as working with other municipalities to see what kind of services that we can stop duplicating. You know, we got a lot of donut holes in the city of North Charleston. And if we can incorporate or work with other municipalities to, stop these donut holes, that would save time for officers, fire, police, whatever. But most importantly, I would like to improve our credit rating. A credit rating, your bond credit rating means a whole lot. Mr. Old just said we have $240 million in bond debt. If you increase your credit rating, you can save millions of dollars. At Charleston County in 2009, I traveled to New York for 2 days and 3 nights, was able to get our credit rating from AA plus to AAA, saved us $6 million in the first year we refinanced our bond. So that's important too, and that will help what Mr. Old said from increasing taxes. Crime, we'd have to look at crime as well too. We're not blaming anybody, we're not against the police department, but we have to address that because no one's going to come and locate here if the crime rate keeps going up or stays the way it is. So that's important as well too.
Mr. Singletary.
First thing I would do is I would meet with the staff and my transition team so that we're all on the same page in terms of what my vision is for the city. The next thing I would do is a forensic audit. There must be a forensic audit done in North Charleston. Presently, for the last 9 months, the spending transparency report in North Charleston has not been published. By law, it should be. It tells you, based on the revenue, what dollars are spent for. The city has failed and refused to publish that report. As far as the bond credit rating, that is extremely important. And one of the things that affects that is going to be the surplus. North Charleston does have a surplus. It's $157 million. You can find that on the balance sheet, with about $40 million of it being unassigned. While that is there, still we must, as stated, do things that allow us to stop spending rampantly and to curtail the spending, to spend what we need to take care of the services for the city, but at the same time, we need to put back into extracurricular things such as comprehensive community centers for North Charleston.
Mr. Williams.
I agree with the forensic audit that's needed so that we can understand what the dollars are. Also, beyond the forensic audit, I want to make sure that I understand.
Is your mic on, Mr. Williams?
I like to make sure that I understand also beyond the forensic audit, understand the budget and have transparency in the budget. Not just know what the revenue and expenses are, but also and have transparency about the balance sheet, so know where those dollars are being spent and where they sit. Beyond that, I want to make sure that I connect with all of the team in North Charleston. That's going to include the city council, all the department heads, the fire department, the police department, the Parks and Recreation department, all the departments in order to create a people-centered North Charleston. We're going too long in North Charleston by not being people-centered. We need to make sure that we put the residents first, figure out what the needs are as far as jobs and education, and tackle those issues as we move forward in North Charleston. Thank you.
Dr. Merriweather, this next round of questioning starts with you. What do you consider your most significant public service to the city of North Charleston to date?
Great question. I think, public service and community improvement takes a bunch of different shapes and forms. As many of you know, I'm an entrepreneur. So oftentimes I have participated silently, funding nonprofit faith-based initiatives to the tune of 6 to 7 figures. So although I may not have been on the front lines doing the work, none of this stuff is free. It often takes resources in order to get the work done. And in my previous capacities, I was running businesses, growing employees, developing employees, stimulating the local economy. So my contribution historically has been philanthropically. And so I've done that work. So when I talk about I didn't talk about it tonight, but when I talk about my real estate fund of $20 million and a $250 million fund of funds, that's not a stretch from what I've already been doing publicly and silently in the background, not looking for any data boys or any accolades, just doing the work. So my work has primarily been financially and philanthropic, and I will continue doing those kind of work behind the scenes, even as mayor, because it's important. None of these projects and community efforts happen through osmosis. Someone, if it's free to someone, someone on the other end is paying for it, and oftentimes I was the one stroking those checks.
Councilwoman Jerome.
Roadways, sidewalks, community centers, the human trafficking, the Tri-County Human Trafficking Task Force, we were able to come up with a lodging ordinance within the city of North Charleston, which allows all of our departments to go out and go to the hotels where most of your human trafficking takes place. After so many violations, the city is now allowed to pull their franchise fee, and it allows us to get a grip on all of the bad stuff that goes on in a lot of our hotels. I work with developers to engage the communities that their developments affect. When Charleston County did the recycle center, I had them come out to Pepper Hill and Colony North to let them know how it would affect their neighborhood. Same thing with Ingleside Drive when we developed it. Had the traffic light put up at Colony North to allow them access out of their neighborhood. So it's just all of my biggest thing is working with the community, making sure that they are taken care of and that their needs are listened to and then they're addressed. And that's what I'm best at.
Mr. Olds.
Would you please repeat that question?
Absolutely. What do you consider your most significant public service to the city of North Charleston to date?
Well, I'm proud to say that I'm the only council member in the history to get a tax decrease for the citizens of North Charleston. Sitting right here in 2018, whenever we put out a $40+ million bond for a capital improvement project, I made a motion that the $2 million increase attached to that bond would expire in 10 years. Bonds don't go forever. You pay them off. It was a 10-year bond. I made the motion for $2 million to come off, which was the tax increase, and it was unanimously supported. In 2028, North Charleston will get a $2 million tax decrease. I'm also proud to say I got one of the first senior centers developed in this city on Dorchester Road at Covington Hills. I'm proud to say that I've had many miles of sidewalks put in this city, and I will continue working on infrastructure. But probably the highest priority for me as your leader will be protecting you as a taxpayer, preserving the money in a fiscal responsible way, developing an online financial dashboard that you can go to daily and see where your tax dollars are being spent and on what they're being spent on.
Councilman Pryor.
Thank you, sir. Well, I would start out with combining all our social services in the city of North Charleston. Also, this was done through Charleston County on the corner of Macmillan and Rivers Avenue. We bought a brand new library to the corner of Dorchester and Rivers Avenue and renovated the Dorchester Road as well as the Rivers Avenue on Otranto library. We brought in industries and jobs as well. Brand new park in the Wheeling for those folks we walked nights going on, knocking on doors, finding out what they wanted. Was able to work with Councilmember Dorothy Williams after we found out what the community wanted. And we had a park there, and so those folks are enjoying that park on weekends as well. You know, Housing Our Future plan, where we started a trust fund as well as gap funding to help $500,000 in the Liberty Hill community to help with critical home repair, just to name a few. But working 14 years for the city of North Charleston to help the taxpayers and help the citizens as well. And so just a few of some of the things that I've done. And as your mayor, I will continue to build on what I've done to make things better.
Mr. Singletary.
Yes. Through my construction company, tax and accounting, South Carolina First Steps, I've been able to provide jobs for many people in the city of North Charleston. I provided housing through my rental property. I helped to start the Father to Father program in North Charleston at St. Peter's, as well as the South Carolina Fatherhood Practitioners Network that is statewide that also impact and increased the budget for the Father to Father program here in North Charleston. I've helped write business plans, grants, and many other types of business-oriented services to people that live in North Charleston. Those, along with the service that I provided to my community, are the things that I feel I've added.
Mr. Williams.
I've had over 16 years of community work in North Charleston, but specifically here recently, I've been able to help North Charleston concerning the redistricting of the city council lines. When I say that there's been lack of transparency, there was lack of transparency with those redistricting process, where we had to actually go and meet with the executive staff and see what the executive mayor's office had put together at the time, because at the time nobody really knew what was going on. This was even like a year and a half ago or so. So because of the involvement of myself as well as others in WCP, other groups, we were able to help with that process and make it a little bit more fair. Not how it could have been, but a little bit more fair than they had planned it to be at the time. This is a couple of years, even just last year, and they just passed that for the city council lines that we are being elected on now in November 7th of this year.
All right. Mr. Burgess.
From the public safety aspect, we actually, I'm really proud that we established the RECAP program. That program is rebuilding every community around peace that we actually was in Boston. And we brought that program back here. That's why we see a lot of officers as well as laities as well as community members walking nightly in communities that are predicted that their crimes are going to occur during those times. Also, our real-time crime center. We have a state-of-the-art $2.5 million real-time crime center. Cameras all over the main thoroughfares that we can see crime, happen, or see folks gathering together, so we can go in there and squash some of the issues that they have. Also, with the nonprofits, to have the nonprofits to receive $1.3 million to really help within the communities that are challenged. We got nonprofits who are ex-drug dealers, nonprofits who are ex-offenders. They have changed their lives. They can talk to these young men and women to help them out. And I really, really just thank you all as citizens for standing by us, because we helped to bring closure to a lot of families that lost their loved ones to homicide. So I think that was the main thing, to bring closure to those families' lives.
And Councilman Pryor, rebuttal. 60 seconds.
But just one thing I want to add, a DNA crime lab that's going to be built and up and running within the next 2 years. That's very crucial, because it will solve a lot of crimes, and a lot of innocent people that are behind bars now will be able to get out earlier, and those that are on the street that are committing the crime will be locked up. So that's a game changer, that DNA lab that's going to be built off of Leeds Avenue that Charleston County Council did.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this. We have one more question. If we can get through it, I want to get you all out in the time that was allotted. You have a rebuttal or something to add, Mr. Williams?
Just real quick, concerning the park at Dorchester Wayland, Dorothy Williams didn't lead that process, and Pryor didn't lead that process. It was the community that led that process for the park, because that came out of the neighborhood association at Dorchester Wayland, and eventually that park got put in after those plans that was put together.
Chief Burgess.
Well, it's really not a rebuttal, but when Councilwoman Jerome stated that fire department, but I think she hangs with the police department more than the fire department. But I just want to say that. That's all. That's all. I was
All right. So, last question. Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, if you received a $1.5 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it? We start with Mayor Jerome.
Mayor Jerome would make all of North Charleston inclusive. All neighborhoods would be the same, treated equally. No more South End, no more North End. I can remember when we were called the North area. We were like the redheaded stepchildren. So I would take that 1.5 million, is that what it was? And I would do everything in my power to make us one North Charleston, equal and fair to all.
Mayor Olds, what are you going to do with your $1.5 million grant?
Thank you. This is going to be a great way to protect taxpayers from their taxes being increased. I'm going to establish a capital future improvement fund to where we have surplus monies to take care of our infrastructure needs throughout our city, and we do not have to go bonding it to be done, because you can get an infrastructure bond. We can get bonds to do these projects. But ladies and gentlemen, it costs interest. It's a lot of money. We need to control spending. I would put that $1.5 million directly in a fund to start establishing that for the future improvement of capital projects.
Mayor Pryor, you have $1.5 million in a grant to use any way you see fit. How are you putting that money to use?
Plain and simple, critical home repair. That would keep a lot of seniors as well as others in their homes. That's near and dear to affordable housing as well, too. So I would take that $1.5 million and I would put it toward critical home repair.
Mayor Singletary, you've been given a $1.5 million grant. How will you use it?
I would put it along with the $1 million that's been appropriated already for a grocery store. We've got a food desert where people have been without nutritional groceries for quite an extended period of time, going on over 15 years now. And so as a city's mayor, I would make sure that that portion of the town had a grocery store.
Right. Mayor Williams, $1.5 million. How's it going to be spent?
This would be a good start to put that $1.5 million into an affordable housing, income-based housing fund to help people who are homeless, and people who need help with their rent, to make sure that they do not get evicted out of their homes. And that would be a start for the housing problem.
Mayor Burgess, $1.5 million grant, sir. How will you use that?
I would use some of that to try to locate a store through our businesses in the neighborhoods with our community to attract a store to come down in the area of the food desert that we definitely need a grocery chain. Also, I would take some of that money and I would distribute it in Shakur, Cherokee, which is one of the highest crime areas, to Positive Vibes, to Everyone Voice Matters in Dorchester Road, which has crime levels, and to be Beyond Our Walls in South Allen. Those are the three main areas that have violent crime. So I would put that money into the nonprofits.
Mayor Merriweather, you have received a $1.5 million grant to be used in the city of North Charleston. How will you use that money, sir?
I would use the $1.5 million to invest in the educational outcomes of our children in North Charleston. I will use this to recruit more teachers, to increase the wage of our teachers, to lower the student-to-teacher ratio, to invest in vocational education programs for our high schools that align with the industries in North Charleston, encourage employers to do school-to-work programs on their dime, and additional technology integration in the classroom. That's what I would do with the money.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the candidates for mayor of North Charleston. Candidates, you have 60 seconds to deliver closing statements, and we're going to start with Mr. Williams.
In closing, we talked about a lot of issues tonight. One of the major issues, two major issues that I see tonight, or solutions that we could bring in North Charleston, is to deal with public education and deal with the affordable housing problem. I bring the background to deal with both of those. I'm a school teacher right now, full-time in public schools currently. I also have a business background, so I can deal with both of those problems. When it comes to schools, we need to make sure that we have stability in our public schools, as we can see as they put the superintendent CCSD on leave. As mayor, I would not stand for that. I would be the first person to speak to that board, the school board at CCSD, about what they did. And I will also meet with the leadership at the schools to make sure that we deal with that issue, because our students need to be educated, and we need to make sure of that. Thank you.
Mr. Singletary.
Vision for the city of North Charleston is quite simple. It is laid out in the card that you can receive from one of my team members here. If you scan that QR code, it tells you that my vision includes you for a better quality of life. It includes housing, with the solution being 30% of your income to own your own home. The gentrification simply will stop. No two ways about it. When it comes to the contracts will be evenly distributed over the sectors of the population. That is the only fair thing to do. And when it comes to crime, we will address the crime through improving the median household income in order to bring the crime rate down, as well as the unemployment that is 3 times the rest of the city in those areas. I ask for your vote on November 7th. because I am the candidate that can help improve the quality of your life. Thank you.
Councilman Pryor.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for showing up on tonight. This city, the third largest city in the state, is going to have a void in leadership with a 30-year incumbent and possibly 8 new council members. I bring to you experience. I bring to you a proven track record. Out of all the candidates up here today, they are making promises but don't have a record. You can go and Google and see what I've done or what I've said, and that's experience, and that's a proven track record. So I tell you, it's not about popularity. It's not about who you like, who's famous. What we're going to do for the city of North Charleston and leadership on day one. I implore you to check out all of us. Google, look at the record. If you want to know where somebody's going to take you, look where they brought you from. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with 30 years of business experience, College Charleston graduate, a servant of this city already, and knowing where the city's been, we now know where it needs to go. We need to separate from the regime and the dynasty that's existed in the city. Though great things have happened in many ways, we cannot deny those facts. We do not need the next leader of this city to have their hand held with Summit Solutions Consulting to run this city. Summit Solutions Consulting has been established, and I will tell you now, this is not what we need in this city. This city needs to be given back to the citizens. It's your government, it's your tax dollars, and I will stand firmly and boldly and be as transparent with you as your next leader and protect you as taxpayers to continue the positive economic development, the positive things that we need to continue going forward in our city, all along with making our city safe again. Thank you.
Mr. Rowe.
I too would like to thank each of you for taking the time to come out tonight. And I'm going to be a little different here because I've been beat up quite a bit these last few weeks. When it comes to crime, we cannot have zero tolerance unless we plan on removing the officer's discretion, which only the Constitution could do. We cannot remove proactivity either unless we want to fight murderers, burglars, and rapists with teddy bears and candy bars. Last but not least, if I'm responsible for the woes of the city as just one vote on city council, I wonder if the county council member is responsible for flooding, failed school systems, and every other flaw in the county of Charleston, or if a former judge is responsible for all the criminals that are out on repeated bonds. Please vote qualifications. Only one other candidate has ever served on city council, that being Mr. Olds. Experience matters, and I am the woman for the job, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th.
Dr. Merriweather.
Well, I'm bringing almost 27 years of progressive business experience and a very credentialed academic resume. But my platform is very simple. It's very citizen-centered. Number one, to address the crime needs not only from a Manning perspective, but also from a legislation perspective. Number two, to address economic development, to create a true entrepreneurial ecosystem in the region that provides strategic partnership opportunities for small and large businesses alike. Number three, better educational outcomes for our students. Number four, affordable housing, using free market solutions. And then last but not least, dealing with the food insecurity in the region. Now, I have not had an opportunity to go through my entire platform here tonight, but if you go to my website at merriweatherformayor.com and hit the tab called My Plan, I've done a video series where I outline my plan in sufficient detail so you can see what I really plan to do and the strategies we're going to implement as mayor of North Charleston.
And Chief Burgess.
As your mayor, I will be an out and about mayor. I actually will talk with residents and neighborhood leaders. My leadership will be to inform everything that you bring to me, your conversations, your plans. That's how I would actually lead. As well as I believe that true governance starts at the community level, to the department heads, to the elected officials. Why? Because we actually work for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, a true measurement of a human being is not when things are comfortable and it's easy. A true measurement is when 1989 when Hugo came, I worked 12 to 16 hours in the streets to get our lights back up to protect us. In 2015, April the 4th, I was there when the protesters were coming from Baltimore, they were coming from D.C., they were coming from Missouri in the Walter Scott shooting. I have stood the test for you all. All I'm asking you all to do is the work that I've done in the communities, let it speak for me. Thank you.
Please give it up for all the candidates. And now give it up for yourselves, who you have listened. That's right. You have listened to them for 2 hours, and now it's your opportunity to make your voices heard by selecting the one of them that is going to best represent you. Thank you again. We encourage you to study these issues carefully, learn about the positions of each candidate, and vote for the candidate of your choice on November 7th. Use the League of Women Voters Vote 411 tool. It's found on the League of Women's League's website to check the status of your voter registration, important, find your polling place, and learn more about these candidates' positions. Contact the Charleston County Election Commission about absentee voting and early voting. The number is 843-744-8683 or vote at charlestoncounty.org. We'd like to thank the Charleston chapter of Links. Please stand when I call your name or your organization. The Charleston chapter of the National Panhellenic Council, the Greater St. Luke AME Church, NAACP Charleston branch, and the League of Women Voters of the Charleston area for sponsoring this event. We'd also like to thank the City of North Charleston. That's right. We'd like to thank the City of North Charleston for allowing us to use this site. Again, many thanks to the candidates, to you, and to you all for having me as moderator.
And could I just say, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, thank you. Wasn't he a wonderful moderator? We love him. You can do this all the time. And we know that Raphael does that not just for us, but for all of the community. But I just want to say on behalf of all of our organizations, thank you so much. We can always add to our candidates, we're especially, and we are just excited about the crowd. We're excited about the interest, and what we want to say to you, as Raphael said, this is a very important election. The people who are here tonight, listen, take it to your friends and neighbors, and tell them that every vote matters, every vote counts. Thank you so much. Good night.
I think she wanted to mention the forms, surveys.
Okay, oh, but Breeze, and there are people standing. If you have surveys, please, please, please let us have them. Thank you so much, and good night. Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you.